She was 12 years old when she left home, and nobody outside a small circle of Filipino tennis fans noticed. No headlines. No cameras. Just a girl, her older brother, and a one-way ticket to a tennis academy on a Spanish island most of her countrymen had never heard of. What happened over the next 13 years would turn that quiet departure into one of the most improbable rises in modern tennis, and it started with a single question nobody was asking at the time. What happens when a country with almost no tennis tradition produces a player who refuses to know her place? Alex Eala was born on May 23, 2005, in Quezon City, into a family that had already tasted competitive sport but never at this altitude. Her mother, Rosemary Maniego Eala, had once stood on a podium as a national swimmer, a bronze medalist at the 1985 Southeast Asian Games, before becoming a corporate executive. Her grandfather put a racket in Alex's hand before she understood what she was holding, and by the time she was 7, she was training 2 to 4 hours a day. Most children with that schedule burn out before adolescence. Alex didn't. Instead, at 12, she won the prestigious Les Petits as junior tournament in France, a result significant enough that it reached the desks of scouts at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Manacor. Within months, she and her brother Miko were living in the academy dorms, an ocean away from everything familiar, chasing something almost nobody from the Philippines had ever chased at that level before. The next few years read like a slow-building overture before a storm nobody could have predicted. At 14, she won a junior doubles title at the Australian Open. The following year, she did it again at Roland Garros. At 15, she won her first professional title on the very courts where she trained. And then, in September 2022, she did something no Filipino had ever done. She won the US Open girls singles title, defeating Mira Andreeva along the way and closing out the final without dropping a set. It was, by her own description, surreal. Congratulations poured in from a boxing legend, a sitting president, and Rafael Nadal himself. But junior success is a notoriously unreliable predictor of anything. The list of prodigies who never translated childhood dominance into a professional career is long, and quietly, doubt began to creep into the margins of her story, because for 2 years after that US Open triumph, Alex Eala did not have a breakthrough. She grinded. She lost in qualifying rounds. She sat outside the top 100, then outside the top 200, occasionally further back than that. And then came March 2025, a moment that would retroactively explain everything that came before it and everything that would come after. Ranked a modest number 140 in the world, Eala received a wild card into the Miami Open, one of the most prestigious tournaments outside the 4 Grand Slams. Nobody predicted what was about to happen. She beat Katie Volinets. Then she beat Yelena Ostapenko, a former Grand Slam champion. Then Madison Keys, the reigning Australian Open champion. And then, in a result that stunned the tennis world, she beat Iga Swiatek, a 5-time major winner and one of the most dominant players of her generation, becoming the first player ranked outside the top 100 to beat Swiatek in 4 years. She cried after that win, not during it. During it, she stayed perfectly, almost eerily calm, closing out a runaway first set and then weathering a mid-match surge from the pole before finishing the job. Tony Nadal, Rafael's uncle and the man who shaped his nephew's entire career, had flown in just to watch her play. When reporters asked her afterward if this was the level of success she'd always envisioned, she didn't hesitate. "Every player here has envisioned this," she said. "This is the goal, to win slams, to climb the rankings." There was no performance in that answer. Just quiet, unshakable certainty. She went on to reach the semifinals in Miami before falling to Jessica Pegula, but by then the damage, or rather, the miracle, was already done. She had become the first Filipino ever to reach a WTA 1000 semifinal, and the first Filipino woman ever to crack the world's top 100. A country with almost no tennis infrastructure, no previous top-level player, and no blueprint for what she was doing suddenly had a genuine contender. But here's where the story could have gone quiet again, the way breakthroughs sometimes do. It didn't. Instead, something stranger started happening, something that had nothing to do with her tennis at all. As her fame exploded across the Philippines and beyond, so did the rumors. Some of them were almost comically extravagant. A Facebook post claiming Wilson Sporting Goods had handed her a $45 million endorsement deal spread to over 100,000 likes before fact-checkers traced it back to a fabricated quote and a stolen photo of an executive who had already resigned. Another post insisted Emirates Airlines had signed her to a multi-million-dollar ambassadorship, a claim that no airline, no agent, and no journalist could ever verify, because it never happened. There were rumors of custom rackets bearing national insignias, distributed across social media with the same confident, invented specificity every time. None of it was true. All of it spread anyway. And here is the part of the story that should genuinely unsettle you. The fake stories weren't randomly chosen. They were engineered around a very real gap, the space between what Alex Eala had already achieved and what the public suspected she was about to achieve. That gap is where misinformation breeds, because when someone's trajectory looks steep enough, people start believing anything is possible, true or not. The real question was never whether she deserved recognition. It was whether the truth could travel as fast as the fiction. And slowly, patiently, it did, because while the fabricated deals were being debunked one by one, her actual endorsement portfolio was quietly becoming one of the most legitimate in Philippine sports history. She had signed with Globe Telecom at just 8 years old, the same telecom company where her mother once served as chief financial officer. Babolat had backed her since her junior days, equipping her with the Pure Aero racket she still uses today. Nike signed her in 2019, and by 2025 was releasing limited edition, Eala-inspired apparel featuring the Sampaguita, the national flower of the Philippines, stitched into designs worn on Wimbledon's center court. The Bank of the Philippine Islands made her an ambassador in 2022. None of these deals needed exaggeration. They were the real story, and the real story was already extraordinary enough. Then 2026 arrived, and what had been a breakthrough became a full-blown ascent. In the Middle East swing, she reached the quarterfinals of the Abu Dhabi Open and then the Dubai Championships, where crowds packed the Aviation Club Tennis Center specifically to watch her play, chanting her name through matches that stretched deep into contested sets. She beat Jasmine Paolini there, a top 10 player, for her third career win over elite-tier opposition. She lost to Coco Gauff in the quarterfinals, comprehensively, 6-0, 6-2, a reminder that the gap between rising and arriving still existed. But the losses didn't slow the climb. On March 16, 2026, Alex Eala reached a career-high ranking of world number 29, becoming the highest-ranked Filipino player in WTA Tour history, not just in the modern era, in any era. She backed it up with another fourth-round run at the Indian Wells Open and Miami Open. She struggled through the clay swing, as many hard-hitting, flat ball players do, exiting the French Open early against her close friend Iva Jovic. And then came grass season, and with it, the moment that would define her year. At Wimbledon in July 2026, ranked number 32 in the world, Eala defeated Renata Zarazua, then Maya Joint in 3 tightly fought sets, and then, in the third round, on one of the sport's most storied stages, she beat Iga Swiatek again, 7-6, 6-2, a second career win over the Polish former world number 1. It was her best ever Grand Slam result, and it wasn't finished. She advanced to the fourth round, the first Filipina in history to reach that stage at Wimbledon, before falling in 3 sets to the very same Jasmine Paolini she'd beaten in Dubai months earlier. Afterward, she didn't reach for a script. It was a roller coaster, she said. 2026 proved a lot to me. There were tough moments, but I kept working with my team, and I kept reminding myself to enjoy this, because that's my superpower. Before that tournament had even ended, she'd already earned more than $871,000 in prize money for the season, part of a career total surpassing $1.7 million, and an estimated net worth between $1 and $1.5 million for a 21-year-old who had turned professional only a few years earlier. And here's the twist that makes this entire story more remarkable than any fabricated headline ever could. The real trajectory now genuinely resembles the fake ones. Industry marketing directors have started comparing her rise to Emma Raducanu's post-US Open explosion. Babolat's own global marketing director has said on record, that what's happening around Eala feels almost impossible given where she's from, a small tennis nation with no prior top-level player, no infrastructure, no precedent. Sky Sports presenters have publicly floated the idea that she might already be the most commercially attractive player in the sport, not despite her modest ranking, but partly because of the authenticity that ranking represents. An underdog story brands can't manufacture no matter how much money they spend trying. This is where the story loops back to where it started, 12-year-old Alex leaving Quezon City with her brother, chasing something with no blueprint and no guaranteed outcome. Every fabricated deal that spread across Filipino social media, every debunked rumor about Emirates or Wilson or engraved rackets, was in its own strange way a reflection of something completely true, that this country, and increasingly the tennis world, senses something building that hasn't fully arrived yet. The lie was the deal amount. The truth was the trajectory. And the trajectory is what should actually keep you watching, because Alex Eala has not won a WTA singles title at tour level, has not cracked the top 20, has not yet beaten a reigning world number 1 in a final. The story isn't over. It's accelerating. A player who left home at 12 with nothing but a plane ticket and a stubborn, quiet certainty is now one of the most recognizable names in her sport's next generation, not because of an invented multimillion-dollar contract, but because of Swiatek beaten twice, Keys and Ostapenko beaten in the same tournament, a nation's first ever top 30 ranking, and a fourth-round Wimbledon run that no Filipino before her had ever come close to reaching. The rumors got the fame right and the facts wrong. Reality is on track to make even the rumors look modest. But rewind for a moment, because there's a version of this story that gets lost whenever people only talk about rankings and prize money, the version of Alex Eala that exists off the court, and it explains why the public latched onto her so hard that fabricated headlines felt believable in the first place. She comes from a family that reads like a quiet dynasty of its own. Her uncle, Nali Eala, once chaired the Philippine Sports Commission and previously served as commissioner of the country's National Basketball League. Her aunt, Ret Eala, is a recognized fashion designer. Her own brother didn't just cheer from the stands. Miko Eala played collegiate tennis at Penn State, giving Alex a training partner and a sibling who understood exactly what the sacrifice of the sport demanded. She studied at Immaculate Conception Academy in San Juan and later Colegio San Agustin in Makati before finally graduating from the Rafa Nadal Academy itself in 2023, with IGA Swiatek, the very player she would later beat twice on tour, attending the ceremony as a guest of honor. Off camera, she is disarmingly ordinary. She prefers matcha over coffee. Her favorite comfort food is calderita, a Filipino beef stew, the kind of answer that grounds a rising international star back in the home she left at 12. She speaks English, Spanish, and Filipino fluently, moving between press conferences in 3 languages without missing a beat. When Manila hosted its first ever WTA-level event, the Philippine Women's Open, in January 2026, she didn't treat it as a routine stop on the calendar. She called it, in her own words, one of the biggest milestones for women's tennis in the Philippines and for tennis in the country as a whole, and she meant it, even after an early loss to eventual champion Camila Osorio in the quarterfinals stung on home soil. That willingness to sit with disappointment in front of the very fans who idolize her, rather than deflect it, is part of what separates her public image from a manufactured one. It's also why marketing analysts keep circling back to a specific historical comparison. Li Na, the Chinese player whose 2011 French Open breakthrough didn't just make her rich, it rewired an entire country's relationship with tennis, expanded the WTA's footprint across Asia, and inspired a generation of players who had never seen someone who looked like them win at the highest level. Babolat's own global marketing director, the man who has overseen sponsorships for both Lee and Eala, has said publicly that what's happening with Alex feels almost illogical given her origins. A small tennis nation, virtually no precedent, and yet crowds now form around her practice courts the way they once formed around Lee's. That pull is not manufactured by a press release. It shows up in raw numbers. Dubai's Aviation Club Tennis Center saw fans camp out in the cold specifically to watch her matches, something she later said added real emotion to her results, because it meant people were sacrificing comfort just to witness her compete. Her signature shot, an early, flat, unapologetically aggressive forehand struck on the rise, has become instantly recognizable to fans who couldn't have named a single Filipino tennis player 5 years ago. And still, for all of that emotional gravity, the tennis itself remains unfinished business. She has never won a WTA Tour-level singles title. She has never faced Aryna Sabalenka, the sport's reigning world number 1, in a completed tour-level match, only shared draws and distant possibilities of a future collision between two radically different styles: Sabalenka's elite, first-strike power against Eala's compact, counterpunching precision. She has beaten 3 Grand Slam champions in a single tournament, but has yet to win one of her own. Every part of that unfinished list is exactly why this story refuses to sit still. A 21-year-old who left Quezon City at 12 with a plane ticket and no blueprint has already rewritten what a Filipino tennis career can look like, and the players who are supposed to be untouchable, Swiatek twice, Keys, Ostapenko, Paulini, have all, at some point, walked off a court having lost to her. The fabricated headlines chasing her name were never the real story. They were just proof that the truth had finally gotten interesting enough for people to want to lie about it.